Vikas Khemani is now joining us from Carnelian Asset Management. Vikas, are you in office today or home already? Because the cricket bus is passing right next to your place, right? The champions are back home.
No, I'm very much back home. I'm very much in Bombay and office.
Acha, in office. No, I was referring to the the champion, the cricket champion. The Indian team is back home, and there's an open bus tour which is happening in town. So I thought you wanted to catch a glimpse. You're a cricket fan too, from your place.
Absolutely, but I guess I'm coming after a long time. So back to work,
Where are you traveling?
focusing on
Where were
work.
you traveling? Was it work or leisure?
No, I was on a holiday in Europe for about 2 weeks.
Ah,
Oh, I
okay.
thought he's going to be in Barbados. But clearly not.
All right. So back home now, what all files and ideas are there on your desk to study? Your team must have culled out a bunch of ideas. Anything interesting? The themes which you're studying right now?
To be honest, themes and ideas keeps coming up, and I guess they don't change very often. Our view on markets remains very bullish. We continue to remain fully invested. Uh, Long-term storage in place. I think you will see a bit of a sector rotation. I think we added the consumer first time in last 5 years, in last couple of months, which I think done well. We've been reasonably positive on pharma. We've been reasonably positive on IT. So I think within all these things, you got to find niche which can grow hard, faster than the rest of the pack. And that's the real challenge. Otherwise, I think overall India story is so diverse, so broad-based that we will keep getting surprised in terms of how the earning growth is playing out. So I think nothing changes from our original hypothesis perspective, and we don't churn portfolio very often. So our holding continues to remain more or less same.
I want to talk to you about a theme which is really gaining momentum over the last few weeks is the alcohol theme. Yes, United Spirits Radico are the poster boys of the massive value creation which IMFL has seen, but now it appears to be going down. There's a primary market offering as well out there. Do you have that representation in your portfolio? Have you looked at it?
We used to have it, and then we don't have it anymore. Of course, this is the sort of play on the rising consumerism or discretionary spending of the country. And it is, as India progresses, as India becomes a developed nation, alcohol is one of the sector which obviously always does well. The only challenge in this segment is always the regulatory intervention, constant sort of talks about the ban, and so I think it has that aspect. Is always challenging. Otherwise, this looks pretty interesting, and so we have always we studied invested earlier, but now more or less we've been invested kind of focused on other consumer companies where we find better risk reward. But not to say that this sector will not do well. Of course, this sector also has to do well because it's play on the rising consumption per capita income of the country.
Right. Vikas, so I mean, tactically, what is it that you're looking at in the market right now? If at all you're looking at fresh avenues. IT, for instance, has seen a good comeback, at least the stock prices in the last 1 month or so. We're yet to see whether that's going to translate into any better, numbers from the companies or not very soon. And then FMCG as well, since that, election day has sort of made a comeback as well. Many are betting now on a rural recovery. Are you looking at these bottom-up stories at all?
Like I was saying, we've been very positive in IT. We added IT, more in last, especially in some of the larger names. We've been always positive in IT, and we added our weight in last couple of months. I think IT continues to remain very positive. Especially, I think it's also a play on the interest rates coming down in US, recovery happening in US. So as the IT spends play out there, but in general, I see even IT companies playing a reasonably good role in the entire AI related disruption. So obviously you have to find plays which are well placed and which can kind of benefit from them. Same way like consumption. Last 5 years, we never bought any consumption stories because we never believed in the valuations and the kind of both combination of both. But now, some of the names, not all, are kind of falling into place. We are not really thinking only because of election and rural recovery. We think that demand in rural economy is fairly robust. I don't see any reason. I think some companies who create this narrative that demand in rural India is weak is the ones who lose their market share, not the ones who are gaining market share. So I think rural demand has been robust and continues to remain robust. We have to play and find out companies who are in this, getting market share. Consumption, interestingly, is going through reasonably good disruption. And there are companies who are losing market share, gaining market share. Smaller players are giving good challenge to bigger companies. So you got to find companies which are well placed and are kind of benefiting from that.
Let's also understand which, Vikas, are some of the sectors where you believe that now the run-up has already played out, where valuations are not looking pleasing anymore, and therefore it would merit a cautious stance or a complete relook.
Saying that some of the defense and railway defense, some of the sectors which have got fancy of last part of the investors, no doubt there are great opportunity from a long-term perspective. No doubt about that. The sectors will do well, but ultimately as an investor we have to look at the risk reward based on the valuation. So I've been continuously always believing that there are pockets of fraud, there are pockets of excesses. And I would say more than sectorally calling out, there are names where you find and across caps, it's not only about small and mid caps, where there are excesses, and you got to kind of be very careful in terms of in capital goods space. I see companies trading at 20 times sales, makes no sense, right? But unfortunately, there's a fancy of capital goods, capital cycle, hence people are kind of buying that and making those bets. So at least we would be careful long term. We have to take into account the growth versus valuation, the risk reward of remaining invested, and we keep that's how at least we think about.
Vikas, I want to talk to you about an area or a small niche of the IT space which is often ignored and seldom discussed in the listed universe because it is not represented very well, and that is cybersecurity. Bulk of the action in cybersecurity is actually happening in the startup universe, the new tech unlisted space. There are very few small companies out there, but I want to understand from you, since I understand you have looked at this cybersecurity as an opportunity, how large can it be, and what's the technological edge of Indian companies versus some of the Western peers in area of cybersecurity in India?
So I think cybersecurity, is a very, very fastest growing. One segment which has to grow and is growing very rapidly, the fastest growing segment within IT space, because cyber threat is one of the biggest threat to any company, any country, any individual. We have seen cyber crimes going up significantly. It is the focuses of the governments. It is focus of corporations. We have seen how many companies who've been kind of attacked by cyber hackers and have seen disruption in their businesses for quarters, and the profitability have got close, or they get compromised on their data center, their databases and all. So I think this is this is a new kind of theft. So like you think about it, 50 years ago, 100 years ago, the physical locks would do well because the growth was there when the different kind of stealing and crime would happen. So same way, I think you don't need now physical locks. You need, because everything has gone digital. Your assets are digital. Most of the value is digital. So that is a new kind of crime, and hence, if you ask me, take 10-year view, this segment will become very, very large, maybe 100x from here now, right? And every company is gearing up on that. And so in the fastest growing segment, if you find a good, interesting company, you must stay invested. Indian companies also can do very well like any other, IT segments. It's not that, Indian companies can't do well. It's again about the knowledge of the, the platform building, investing into that. Fortunately, Indian companies are now ready, or they have wherewithal to spend into platform building, spend into R&D capabilities. So those are giving them the edge. Of course, there will be many companies. It will not be one company. There will be many companies in this space because the market is very, very, very huge. And hence, I think this should be very promising area within IT space. It is similar to, about 10 years ago, what digitization and cloud migration was, in my opinion, where, if you see persistent kind of companies have become, from 1,000 crore market cap to 70-80,000 crore market cap. So those kind of opportunities, when you take a 10-year, 15-year view, where you can get potential multi-baggers come out. So I do believe that many large cybersecurity companies would be there in India.
Well, we were just talking about some of the defense-related plays. Look at what's happening in a Mazgaon or a Cochin shipyard. Relentless move in both these stocks. Even in today's trading session, I think they're scaling up more than 5.5% as we speak right now. But Vikas, so good to have you on the show. Thank you as always for taking the time out and speaking with us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.